Hey, how's it going? Before we jump into the content, I just want to take a minute to thank you for stopping by the channel and checking out the content. If you like this content and you want to support more content like it, then make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. You can also check out the YouTube membership program and cybertrainingpro.com, where I put practice exams and other things that I couldn't put on YouTube. Again, regardless of how you support the channel and my content, I couldn't be more appreciative. Thank you so much, and let's get into the content. Welcome back. In this module, we'll explore Clause 6 of ISO 27001, which is all about planning within your Information Security Management System, or ISMS. Planning is a critical step because it helps you identify, assess, and address risks while setting the groundwork for your security objectives. Let's break down what you need to know to effectively plan and implement an ISMS that meets ISO 27001 requirements. Planning for your ISMS starts with identifying risks and opportunities that could impact its effectiveness. You need to consider the context of your organization and the needs and expectations of your stakeholders, like we covered in Clause 4. This involves looking at both risks that could disrupt your information security objectives and opportunities that could enhance your ISMS. For example, a risk might be a potential data breach due to outdated software, while an opportunity could be the adoption of a new security technology that improves your defenses. Your goal here is threefold. First, to ensure that your ISMS can achieve its intended outcomes. Second, to prevent or reduce undesired effects like security incidents. And third, to drive continual improvement. Once you've identified the risks and opportunities, you need to plan actions to address them. This includes integrating these actions into your ISMS processes and establishing a method to evaluate their effectiveness. It's not just about putting controls into place, but also ensuring they work as intended. Now let's focus on the risk assessment process. This is one of the most crucial activities in your ISMS. You need a structured process that consistently identifies, analyzes, and evaluates risk to your information assets. You want to start by defining risk criteria. This includes risk acceptance criteria, which is what level of risk is acceptable for your organization, and criteria for performing risk assessments. You'll want to ensure that every time you perform a risk assessment, the results are consistent, valid, and comparable. This is key for making informed decisions. During the risk assessment, you'll identify information security risks related to the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your information. For each risk, determine who the risk owners are. These are the people responsible for managing the risk. Next, analyze these risks by assessing their potential impact and the likelihood of their occurrence. So how often are they going to happen? You'll combine these factors to determine the overall level of risk and then evaluate them against your predefined criteria to prioritize which risks need treatment. It's essential to document this entire process to ensure transparency and accountability. This documentation helps in reviewing and refining your risk management approach over time. Once you've assessed the risks, it's time to decide how to treat them. Risk treatment involves selecting the most appropriate options for dealing with those identified risks. You could choose to mitigate the risk with specific controls, you could accept the risk if it's within the acceptable limits, or you could transfer it to an insurance provider or outsourcing, or avoid it altogether by changing the way that you operate. After selecting your treatment options, you need to determine which controls are necessary. This is where Annex A of ISO 27001 comes into play. Annex A provides a comprehensive list of controls that you can use to address various information security risks. It's a good practice to compare your selected controls with Annex A to ensure that no important controls have been overlooked. Keep in mind, these are just a few different treatment options that you could have. Sometimes they're called other things, or you could see other options, but these are the most common ones that exist. Then you'll produce something called a Statement of Applicability, and sometimes we call this an SOA. This documents the controls that you've selected, it justifies why they're included, and it includes notes whether they're implemented or not. So if it's not implemented, this means it's planned to be implemented. This document is crucial for demonstrating compliance and for internal audits. Finally, you need to develop a risk treatment plan that outlines how each risk is going to be managed and obtain approval from risk owners. This plan should detail the necessary actions, responsible parties, timelines, and criteria for evaluating the effectiveness of the treatment measures. With risks identified and treated, it's time to set your information security objectives. Now, these objectives need to align with your information security policy and be measurable where practical. For example, you might have an objective to reduce the number of phishing attacks by 50% over the next year. Your objectives must be documented, communicated to relevant stakeholders, and monitored regularly to track progress. When planning how to achieve these objectives, you need to consider what actions are required, the resources needed, who will be responsible, and the timeline for completion. Effective planning ensures that your ISMS not only meets its immediate goals, but it's also poised for continuous improvement and adaptation as your organization evolves. Finally, let's talk about change management. Your ISMS is not a static system. It needs to evolve as your organization grows and as new risks and opportunities emerge. Clause 6.3 requires that any changes in your ISMS are planned in a controlled manner. When planning changes, consider how they'll impact existing processes, resources, and controls. Engage stakeholders, document the change plan, and ensure that changes are carried out smoothly and without disrupting the security posture of your organization. To summarize, Clause 6 is all about proactive planning. It's about understanding your risks and opportunities, treating those risks effectively, setting clear objectives, and managing changes in a structured way. This planning sets a foundation for a resilient ISMS that can adapt to the ever-changing threat landscape. In the next module, we'll cover support requirements, including resources, competence, and awareness, which are all critical for the successful implementation of your ISMS. Thanks for joining, and let's continue building your expertise in ISO 27001.